Hello and welcome to the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast. This is John Goodwin, your host. Today's guest is Illustrators of the Future winner, Allan Morris. Welcome, Allan.
How's it going, John?
It's going good, and congratulations on winning.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you.
So, how'd you find out about Illustrators of the Future?
My friend Bruce Bernizzi, who's a fellow illustrator. You know, it's a small world in the fantasy illustration community, and so he was singing the praises all throughout the year. And I think it was right around this time last year, he told me to sign up. Said it was a wonderful experience.
Good. So you're the second person that he told to enter and is here now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year you get more and more people that Bruce has been talking about. So, yeah.
Good. So how long have you been working as an artist? How long have you been moving in that direction?
Career-wise, well, I went to school for art in Cleveland, Mississippi, and didn't pick up a paintbrush till about 2011. I think I was drawing before then. And then my first semi-professional job, you know, just doing work for smaller companies, was maybe 2015. So a small gap there as far as that goes. Yeah. And then I've been failing upward ever since.
So what was the thing that pushed you in the direction of doing art?
Well, there's a serious answer and there's a funny answer. The funny answer is that I was really bored in class, and so I started drawing a lot, right? The serious answer, which is true, but the serious answer is that I was also reading a lot, and I grew up in a really rural area. And you know, what are you going to do? Walk to your friend's house 5 miles down the road? You couldn't do that, right? So I was reading a lot of books and playing a lot of video games and found myself really invested in the art that brought these things to life. I mean, in the 90s when I was growing up, art was exploding, especially concept art, things like that. And I couldn't resist. I mean, the second I realized that could be a job, I was hooked. So I had to figure out how to do that.
Wow. Yeah. Good. So you submitted 3 pieces of art that you won with. Can you tell me about those?
Vaguely. I wanted to be a history teacher before I was an artist, and it's because I love history, all parts of it, and I try and work historical narratives into every painting that I do. So I think the ones that I sent in were a little bit grandiose, which is something that you'll see in a lot of my work. Yeah. Good.
And then the piece that you actually illustrated for volume 35?
Yeah, so that was for are we allowed to say the title? Yeah. Okay, so it's called The Damned Voyage, and it is about this, my synopsis would be kind of an older Indiana Jones type that is going to reclaim this stolen treasure. And, of course, everything goes downhill and uphill from there. And that's kind of what I pictured whenever I saw it in my mind's eye, as like, what does kind of an older, and he describes him as like an old adventurer that looks more like Ben Franklin now. So what does like an adventurer Ben Franklin look like, you know, when he's boarding this ship after these villains? He's got to hide his sword and his cane, so he's kind of drawing his cane out. I wanted to really a pose that captured a lot of the story without really telling any of it, which is something I enjoy.
I loved that illustration. It was really, really good.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. So any particular artists that have been big influencers for you?
Donato Giancola you can see his kind of voice throughout my work. It's something that, you know, I grew up in a rural area. Our school in art was mostly contemporary, right? And I felt so frustrated, and he had released this DVD, and I'm not kidding here. I watched that DVD every single day for about a year before I'd ever met the man. And that's what taught me to paint. Other heroes include Larry Elmore, who's going to be here. I see him as like the father of modern fantasy, right? And then Todd Lockwood, who was really the person that got me into illustration, and I've been lucky enough to be his assistant and apprentice and his friend for the last 2 years. So.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good. So, what are you looking forward to the most with this coming week?
Beautiful sunny California. It's still cold in Washington. The most, getting to hang out with Larry Elmore and I'm a big community guy, and any excuse I can get to talk to other artists and creative peers is an opportunity to kind of raise everyone up at the same time together, right? It's a small world. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to most. So,
that's great. Good. So do we have anything that we can look forward to seeing from you in the not too distant future?
Definitely. The same month, the same time that I got this award, I was actually contacted by a smaller company with a big name, Grim Oak Press, run by Sean Speakman. And he has been doing amazing things, and I got picked up to recreate the covers of Lord Fowl's Bane, which is a book by Stephen Donaldson that came out in the late 70s, early 80s. And I was over the moon. I got to do 7 illustrations for that. It's been a wild ride, and I can't wait for people to see that.
That's awesome. So, that's great. So, again, congratulations for winning, and look forward to seeing more from you down the road.
Definitely, John, and thank you again.
Great. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next installment of the Writers of the Future podcast. Subscribe to the Writers of the Future podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Writers and Illustrators of the Future are contests created by L. Ron Hubbard to provide a means for the aspiring writer and artist to be seen and acknowledged. It is free to enter and open to new and amateur short story writers and artists of science fiction or fantasy.